the last minute on the greatest chemical crisis in the history of Orange County, where 50,000 people were virtually with actually no notification, were told to mandatorily evacuate their homes. So a lot has happened since then. We're just beginning to learn all the facts about what the company was doing and how many people's lives were disrupted, and that's what we're here for today. So I want to have a chance to go over some of the details of information that we already know about. This is a quiet manufacturing plant that people in Garden Grove really didn't know much about, and were quite surprised when this chemical crisis took place. The company is known as the GKN. It's actually GKN Aerospace. They have 500 employees. Internationally, it's a $4.7 billion corporation, and it's owned by an English company. In fact, it was formed in England in 1759, so it's a very old, well-established English company. It's been doing this kind of industrial work. So they have been in Orange County since 1966, but it turns out in Orange County, and Garden Grove particularly, there was something like 60,000 residents. Now there's 170,000 residents. So the whole Orange County community, suburban communities and homes and mobile parks, have grown substantially, while this chemical manufacturing company has been there basically not well noticed. Then we discovered that this particular chemical that started combusting and started a serious potential disaster. And as of, you remember Saturday night and as of Sunday, it looked like there was not going to be a solution. It's either going to blow up or have a massive leak affecting our sewers and our oceans and our air quality. And luckily, there's a spontaneous leak that diffused that problem. However, this precise chemical, otherwise known as MMA, has had disastrous problems in India, Japan, Taiwan, Jacksonville, Florida, just in the last 5 years. So it's an international, well-known problem with this particular chemical. And then this particular plant, our friends at the GKN has had 9 violations with the state of California and the county of Orange for basically not maintaining safety standards. So this is well documented. This is the first such complaint was filed in 2018. So it's not a surprise that something went wrong in the safety officer and the safety protocols that allowed the refrigeration system that kept the chemical stable suddenly collapsed. And there are 3 backup systems, according to the Orange County Fire Authority, that did not come into play, and suddenly they had an uncontrolled potential chemical explosion. I call it a potential Chernobyl. It would have been permanent, lasting damage, plus countless lives. Now we're here today that I have a number of folks behind us, and you have their names. We filed in the Orange County Superior Court. That's kind of important. Some people are filing in federal court. It makes no sense to me. We'll have a much better reception if we're with Orange County jurors in Orange County, where people actually know what's going on here. And the class action I don't like. It's an easy street for some lawyers to pretend to represent 50,000 people. They don't do a lot of work. They get nice fees. But the individual people and the class themselves are going to be suffering because they're going to get pennies. And we know how generally class actions work that way. So I believe it's individual torts. I call this a mass tort. Everybody here has a particular unique claim and a story, very compelling stories. You can hear some of them. And I appreciate them showing up on their own time to relate to that. Some of the things we're looking at particularly is the anxiety, the fear, and the psychological harm. Hard to measure, but it's real. For example, one of our clients, Roxana, she was as she was driving back into town, she started hearing what was going on with her family. She had a panic attack and went to the Kaiser emergency room. Now, and that's something I didn't even anticipate. But when you're hearing what's going on with your family, in particular, many of the clients here actually were given 15 minutes notice. A policeman went to their door, knocked on the door, and said, "You got to leave now." So we have cases where people had left, they had to leave in 10 to 15 minutes, and some of the dramatic things that they left behind they forgot about. One of our clients, and I want to mention her name, has actually left the diabetic medicine behind. I believe that's Cecilia Olvera. So she left in a hurry, and then of course the question was, where were they going to go? Nobody had made plans. There wasn't anything set up because it was all an emergency, last minute. We understand that, but everyone has a particular issue. And there's this also interesting thing I'm hearing from lots of clients. There's a fear of future illness, even cancer. Because, when you hear chemicals and what it can do in the air, and so far the authorities say there's nothing leaked in the air, nothing to worry about, but people are still worried. I mean, that's just a rational fear, and hopefully that doesn't become a problem. But some of our clients are reporting respiratory and irritation and headaches. And I think that's kind of a combination, maybe psychological, maybe actual energy. Others are going to be seeing their medical doctors for evaluations. That's perfectly proper, and I think people want to have a better peace of mind. And here's something else that I think a lot of people are overlooking. So, the people that are suffering the most are older folks. Naturally, they're older, so their immune systems aren't that great, and they have pre-existing problems. They might have diabetic issues, they might have cardiovascular issues. So those conditions are certainly going to be aggravated with this amazing, strange crisis that took place in the trauma. Some other things that we're looking to get compensated for our clients, including temporary lodging and hotel costs, food expenses, transportation, medical evaluation, relocation, and moving expenses. It turns out that in one particular case, and we'll be reminded that, yes, it's, let's start out. Let me get the name correctly here, because I'm learning my clients' names as best as I can. Shadi Davedna lives right next. Right here. Oh, it's right over there. He lives right next to the plant itself. There's the plant, the railroad track, and his father's home. So he's got a brother, I hope it's a brother, living with a sister, and two parents, and they own the home outright. They're already getting calls from real estate agents that their property values have gone down significantly. Do they want to sell? I mean, what kind of vultures are that? They're actually going to people whose properties we know are in distress. But the last thing you want to do, just the extra damages on top of the problem that they're having personally and adjusting to this, is that if you're a homeowner, you're looking at, objectively speaking, the value of their property is going to go down. So they're getting hit in all sorts of ways. That we can measure, that we can help out on. So at this point, I want to introduce a couple of folks to have them make a few comments, and then we can entertain your questions. So I'll start off with Roxana. Roxana, tell me about how your family evacuated the premises and where they live, and who was in your family, and how many times did they have to keep moving? Starting off with a family that was across the street from the plant.
Talk to the microphone, please.
Oh, okay. My name is Roxana Juarez, RoxanaJuarez, and I was out of town, but when I came back home on Sunday, I was already ridden with anxiety. I had been stressing out the last 2 days, keeping up with the news on what my family had been through, and sadly I learned that my sister, who lives only a street away in Stanton, had to walk with her her 3 daughters, 1 newborn, and husband all the way to our apartment in Stanton, where, because they had been evacuated from their apartment as well, but as we met them at our apartment, the police also came to our home and said, no, you have to leave. So they had been evacuated twice. We evacuated, or my family evacuated once. And after that, we went to the Inland Empire. I was receiving calls from them in the Inland Empire. They later moved to a shelter in Fountain Valley, and they slept in their car there because there was no capacity for the amount of people that were evacuating into the centers. They couldn't find a cot. They had to, they got food, but it wasn't up to the standard, as a home-cooked meal. They couldn't shower. They had to stay at the park and just wait it out basically while our homes were possibly, like they said, going to be in the line of explosion, or we didn't know if we were going to go home.
Thank you very much.
Do you speak Spanish?
Yes.
Can you repeat that in Spanish?
Sí, sí. Como dije en inglés, pues mi familia sí tuvo que moverse varias veces. Mi hermana, que vive en una calle del centro de la explosión, fue evacuada, y es cuando caminaron de pie a mi apartamento con mi familia. Ellos después fueron evacuados por la policía una segunda vez, y es cuando tuvieron que irse al Inland Empire, y de allí solo se quedaron una noche. Ellas, sus 2 hijas, mi mamá, mis 2 hermanos y mi papá. Y ya después de esa noche se tuvieron que ir a un centro de refugio para poder dormir en el carro cómodamente y no estar con familia, ya que nadie está preparado para una situación así, para recibirnos. Entonces se quedaron durmiendo en los carros, recibiendo unas cuantas comidas, pero no pudieron alcanzar adentro del centro y sin cama, se tuvieron que dormir en el carro y ya pues estuvimos esperando allí. Yo los pude encontrar el domingo por la tarde o el lunes por la tarde y ya es cuando levantaron todas las restricciones, pero todavía teníamos miedo de regresar a casa.
Thank you very much, Roxana. We'll have more time to spend with them individually. Roxana, that's amazing, the great talent there. Her mother, Elia, should be very, very proud of your daughter. She's amazing. I'm going to ask, we also have Mr. Wynn, who came, Miss Wynn lives very, very close to the site. True Wynn. He doesn't speak English comfortably, so I just asked him to come and show support. But his story is he lives in a mobile home park in Garden Grove. He was forced to leave on the spur of the moment, and he's got 2 children and a wife, and so it was quite an experience for him. He's also a homeowner. He owns his home in a trailer park, and he's concerned about, of course, property values there as well. So everybody in the impact area, I think, will see some property losses for years to come. I hope not, but things like this, as you know, when there's an incident like this and you're trying to sell your property, you have to tell them. You have to tell, oh, by the way, we're in a blast area, and that certainly is good. I'm going to ask our next speaker, Shadi Dabedna from Westminster, and tell us where you live, what happened, how your family evacuated, and that weird call your family got from the realtor. Come on in. Your name?
Can you spell it out?
Yeah, and spell it.
Spell it out. Okay. My name is Shadi Dababneh, Shadidababneh. Just like Shawn said, my parents, they own their home outright. They've lived in Westminster right next to the GKN Aerospace plant. They lived there more than 30 years. I grew up there my entire life. Countless of times I've driven past this plant not knowing that it could possibly blow up one day. This just opens a can of worms into really what we live by. I know there's many plants down that street. And just yesterday, my dad in the morning, I woke up and he's stressing out that he's getting all these texts and calls about realtors already in my neighborhood asking him to sell his house, what's the price he would sell it for, and just trying to hound him for his house and taking advantage of the situation that's unfolding. He wants answers, everybody wants answers. All weekend long, there's helicopters planted over our house. They couldn't sleep all night long. All 5 days, just countless helicopters over our house. He had to duct tape his bedroom shut. He was scared of the gas coming in. He is not in a great health position to go to any of these resources that they had available. He just thought that his bed was easier. So that's what I have to deal with now.
So he didn't evacuate?
He did not evacuate. He couldn't.
And are you closer to the beach? Is that why it's Westminster? Can you kind of help us geographically?
Yeah, so my house is located on Hoover Street and Garden Grove Boulevard, right in between Beach Boulevard and Knott, and the plant is directly in front of our house.
Were you in the smaller evacuation zone then too?
No, we were in the 3rd radius ring of the blast zone.
Well, I mean, like, when they shrink these evacuation
I was
zones,
still in it.
You were still in it?
Yeah. And then on top of that, there's cop cars all night long, lights, sirens, megaphones, helicopters. They didn't sleep for, I want to say, 4 days. Then they're still, till this day, asking me questions, and I have no questions. And this is why Shawn, he's going to be great. I think he's going to give me answers, and this is going to be more than just getting answers from GKN. This is going to get answers for any of those plants that are on Knott Street and any urban areas. I think this is going to raise concerns and really unfold what they're hiding. We already know that they've been fined over $900,000 for their faulty mistakes from all types of city.
Did your whole family stay home? Did you stay home too?
I stayed home. My sister she wanted to leave. I tried to get them out. They're very persistent on staying at home. They wanted to stay home. We have a cat there. They did take the cat, but they did not want to leave. They just saw the types of situations that Red Cross was handing over. They wanted to make their own food. He has really bad back problems, and other health problems, and we couldn't just take everything at once. He wanted to be there.
So it was you and your parents staying?
That's correct.
So just to
Both
be
sisters
clear,
left.
You were supposed to evacuate,
Yes.
but you didn't.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you,
that's great.
thank you,
Thank you,
thank you
Shawn.
very much. There's multiple other stories. I think, and if I have this right, I think it's, want to get this right, I think Roberta, Roberta, your daughter was pregnant?
No, my daughter.
Okay, so your daughter was pregnant and she had to go to San Diego.
Yeah.
So they left the area and you went, and who did you stay with? Wait, Roxana?
Oh, yes.
She went to a relative's home.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Where, what city?
So she's been a Stanton resident
Yeah, I
for
live in Stanton.
For how long?
For 21 years.
Okay,
So
okay.
Cecilia's been a Stanton resident for 20 years, and her daughter, who just found out she was pregnant, had to evacuate with her two younger, under 5 daughters to San Diego. ¿Qué más?
Oh, mi hija le tocaba trabajar en casa el viernes y tuvo que dejar de trabajar porque nos paniqueamos mucho, tomamos mucho pánico que iba a pasar todo y ella se tuvo que ir a San Diego pensando en el problema que iba a pasar por los químicos, por su embarazo, por las niñas. Nos tomamos mucho miedo y yo estoy diabética y también me entró mucha ansiedad. Me sentí mal pensando más en el problema de o sea, qué iba a pasar con mi hija y mis nietas. Y todos, mi familia, pues estábamos paniqueados, todos teníamos mucho pánico.
Thank you, Cecilia, please.
She states that she and her whole family were anxious and they were panicking. Her daughter was supposed to work from home on Friday, but unfortunately she had to evacuate to San Diego. She was mostly worried about her daughter's pregnancy and any chemicals, any odors, any potential health concerns that could arise from staying in Stanton. She herself had a panic attack and she is diabetic, so the anxiety and all the stress that this situation caused has taken a toll on herself, her health, and her family.
Thank you very much, Roxana. Well, there's the advantage, we're the one law firm that does this kind of work that are closest to the incident. So we've basically told people that are interested, just come in. You don't need to make an appointment. They don't have to go to LA, they don't have to go to San Francisco or New York. They're getting solicitations from all over the world. But we're here. We know how to do this kind of work. And this is something that I just want to let everybody know. We're neighbors, we're downwind, and several of our employees have good friends that were also in the area as well. So, any more questions?
Are these the total of the plaintiffs? 7?
No, there's 30.
30?
These are the, listen, most of our clients are working. They got to get to work.
Okay, so it's 30 individual.
Yeah, so far. And probably at the end of the day, it's going to be, actually, we're getting a lot of calls processing. We have 30 signatures that have actually signed up officially. So we have a lot of calls, people have a lot of questions, and we're not trying to rush anybody. They got to think about it. And, you know, most of these people have never had a lawyer in their life. And this is a whole new experience, and they're not even sure how that works. So
Do you put a monetary amount for these daños, for these?
it's going to vary. You know, you could come in and say, I want $1 billion per person, and that's kind of silly stuff. Nobody can take you seriously if you just put up a random number. Well, we have, I think, our significant losses. What is it worth to be evacuated from your home in 15 minutes, have it disrupted? And everybody's got an individual story with different facts. I just discovered that one of our clients, you heard it yourself, couldn't even get her diabetic medicine. That's kind of dangerous. There's others that, you know, didn't even see their husband because he was at work, but they had to flee, and so the husband wasn't aware. And we had another one with a panic attack. You heard the testimony on that. So that's called fact gathering, and each of those are going to have individual standing claims. Yeah.
What's the range, though?
The range, you know, that's. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think many of these cases are 6 figures. So, and I think that's legitimate and real. So that's something that, the facts will merit what the range will be. My guess is that the folks in Orange County are going to be very understanding to their neighbors. That's my best guess. Question?
Shawn, we've heard stories, and maybe Roxana could come up and help us with this as well, that many people did have to sleep in their cars, were afraid to go to the shelters because of ICE, because they were concerned that the shelters would require too much detail, and these evacuees weren't really willing to give it up. Can I hear if you?
That's a fair question.
Roxana, can you
Actually,
please address
we
that?
did hear some of that. Roxanne, I don't know how widespread it was, but come on
I'm
in.
able to ask the question to
Okay,
them.
sure.
So, la pregunta es si ustedes tuvieron miedo de ICE o si por miedo de ICE se durmieron en los carros o no fueron a los centros de refugio que sí asignaron la ciudad. Y es experiencia personal y si no, pues...
¿Problema o no?
No, yo me fui a vivir con mi hijo, vive en Anaheim.
¿Pero tuvo miedo?
Pero si tú, no, por ahí no tuve
¿Usted?
miedo.
No tuve miedo, pero ya no hubo lugar para quedarnos adentro, por eso nos quedamos afuera en los carros.
What I'm hearing from my neighbors is that they were scared, but it wasn't the main issue. ICE was not the main issue. There was just full capacity at all these centers that were being offered. That's why they opted to stay in the cars, and they did get some food and they were able to get some supplies from American Red Cross and the centers, but ICE was not the issue.
Thank you very much. More questions?
And so are you filing each lawsuit individually based on the individual circumstances?
It's called, in this case, and I've done these before, it's a mass tort. So we have one lawsuit, we're just going to continue to add names that people get signed up. It's a strangely time-consuming process, but we're going to have all names in one lawsuit.
Like each person would have like
Have an individual
amount,
claim
an
as
individual case.
and what we say as according to proof. So each one is individual. So one person will have some interesting issues and another one maybe more so. But yeah, so they stand alone.
And it sounds like one you might be going after is real estate value. How do you prove that, especially in the short term?
Actually, we have our friend called Willow, and you get experts for that. And it's nowadays it's pretty well documented. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was kind of a guess, but now we know objectively it's worth X dollars today, and then it goes down to Y, and so, and that'll take a period of time.
Do you anticipate that happening?
Oh, for sure. It's already happened. The realtors already smell this out. I never heard that story until this morning. That real estate agents are trying to buy these properties at distressed values. That's an outrage. And so people need to be informed. Don't fall for that.
It sounds like you're also going over pain and suffering.
Yes, but the emotional distress is pain and suffering, and it's a real challenge.
And what kind of
Well, some are going to get some will get psychological help. Others are going to see their GP. We're encouraging everybody that feels any kind of pressure, problems, or trauma, see their local doctor.
Shawn,
Yes.
more about the company.
Yeah.
We were hearing that this company, you indicated how large it is. I believe it was taken over by this UK company within the last 10, 15
Melrose.
Okay.
In England.
So when it came to Garden Grove, it wasn't owned by this UK company 60 years ago.
That's correct.
And I understand that it's a very important cog in the wheel, if you will, with the Department of Defense.
Mm-hmm.
That the Department of Defense has had conversations with people here locally that, hey, this place is going to stay, this place is important, it manufactures something we need for our military. Can you give us any indication about what your research has found?
No, yeah, I don't want to get into speculation. They do produce vital elements for basically for the U.S. Air Force, with the plexiglass for the windows for the jets, the F-35, also the canopies. But here's my view of this. At one time, there's been a lot of complaints about the John Wayne Airport, Newport Beach. Well, there's a lot of people living in Newport Beach, but when it was first set up in World War II, hardly anybody was living there. My dad trained out of there, he became a hump pilot, he would fly, and it was just farm fields and such. Times change, and so my thinking is, if you got a very volatile manufacturing concern, and the neighborhood is growing like mushrooms around you, and there's homes and tens of thousands of people within a 1 square mile, maybe you ought to consider relocating. And I don't mean immediately, but as you're a business strategist, I don't think these kind of companies I think they're taking too high of a risk for themselves when they have volatile materials to be in an urban area. And maybe it's time to consider going into a more of a completely rural area. That's just my thinking. I think for many of these companies, they ought to be thinking that way because they know what the risks is. They know what the chemicals are. They know what the probability is of a failure system. And this is a massive failure system. The safety officers at that particular plant have got a lot of explaining to do. But it's predictable. It wasn't like the first time it's ever happened. So I agree. So I don't think anybody's telling them to move out of town, but at the same time, let's look at these very spontaneous, active manufacturing plants that are next to a whole lot of neighbors that came in the last few years.
Are you going to be asking for that in the lawsuit or any
Nope,
changes in
nope.
policy? This is just
No,
strictly
but
damages.
if the lawsuit helps propel policy change, we're doing something good. We don't get paid for that, but that's one of the outcomes we're looking for. Any more questions? We love questions. Question over here.
You've seen the statements that have been put out by the company. How do you believe the company is going to be transparent about how this happened or willing to take responsibility, just based on what you've seen so far?
What I've seen, I don't know, and it's hard to say, but I'm sure their lawyers are putting out every single syllable, every single iota, and I think they're doing the right thing. They're not combative, they're apologizing, I think that's important, and my guess is they don't want to see this in front of a jury, but you never know. You know, the company may be taken over by somebody else, there may be new lawyers involved, but I'll take them. Look, no human being can be happy with what happened, and I think the apology is sincere, and I think they would like, and I think they're extreme. They should be. We're all grateful it didn't become the Chernobyl event that it could have been.
And if it goes to a jury, how many years might that take?
It could, in Orange County, it's pretty well, but 2.5 years. So it's not forever, but it's awfully long. It's very long and painful. But we tell our clients that up front. Okay, folks, we'll be available for individual questions afterward. I'm grateful that everybody came here this morning. We still have more coffee. Thank you. Thanks very much.